going to show you how to make a map that shows the hazard and potentially exposure, we'll see what we get, of Cyclone Debbie 2017 so that we can see how the intensity or the conditions that led to the cyclone influenced hazard risk for North Queensland. So the first thing we know about cyclones is that they require sea surface temperatures of over 26.5 degrees to form. So the first layer we're going to add is sea surface temperature. And we're going to click the second one here that just shows sea surface temperature by Esri. All right, this time bar has popped up and we don't want that. So if we go to properties and scroll down to time and disable it, that makes that go away. Now, this is a map that we get, and the reason why it's not very useful for what we want is because it's very hard to actually see what temperature the water is. So if I said, where are the areas over 26.5 degrees that make a cyclone, it's actually very hard to pinpoint where that is because here we have a spectrum of temperatures rather than clearly seeing the categories. So to change this, we're going to go down to styles and click classify. And as you can see, it's now been broken down into what are called breaks. So there's actual categories of the degrees Celsius. And now we can easily say that if it's going to be 26.5 degrees, it'll be in this bright red color somewhere. But we're going to change these numbers because we would like to see particular numbers like 26.5 degrees a bit more clearly rather than seeing 24 as well. So we're going to click style options and we can do 5 classes. I'm going to do 6 just to make it a bit more detailed. Now we're going to change these numbers. They tend to get in the way, so I like to just pull them up a bit. And I'm going to type in 10, 15, 22, 26.5. If that doesn't work for you, just type 26. And I'm trying to think, will I do 32 or 35? Let's do 32. All right, let's do that. I've got my numbers there. Now we can change these colors. You can change the colors in 2 ways. First, you can click here and it comes up with a range of color schemes that you can choose from. You can choose any. They'll change in a moment. If you pick one where the intensity is darkest at the lowest and you want to flip that around, you can just click flip ramp colors and it will change it around for you. Otherwise, you can also just choose the colors yourself by clicking on these individual squares. Now, when you do this, make sure that the colors that you choose actually correlate to the numbers. So for example, I'd be doing red if it was very high temperatures, so that visually it's easy to understand the pattern. You also want to make sure that your colors are quite distinguishable. Oops, that's the wrong one. So that it's easy to tell the difference between the red shades, for example. So choose your colors. All right. There is my little example. Yep. Then the other thing we're going to do is, because we want our legend to be accurate, we're going to add the degrees Celsius, that unit of measurement. So we're just going to copy and paste this over. Cool. Oops. I hope that saved. It did. Awesome. And make sure you click done when you are finished. All right. I'm not actually loving the colors here, but that's okay. All right, here we have got our sea surface temperature. Now, the next thing we are going to add is air temperature. So we're going to go, I'm trying to remember what it's called. Surface air, no, air surface. Sometimes they're pretty tricky to find, so I just have to remember what I've found in the past. And from memory, I had to scroll for a while for this one. Oh, it's right here. So the one by Sarah Appleton is a really good one. We're going to add that. Now the same thing, we're going to have to do the categories again. So we're going to click on, I believe it's counts and amounts. Yep. And then we're going to go style options. And click on classify data. All right, we are going to go, let's do 5 classes. Okay. Let's go to 0. Oops, again, we need to, I think I actually might change that to 6 potentially. Let's see how we go for now. So 0, 10, oh, we'll just do this. 20. No, we're gonna add a few more, sorry. Let's add 7. Okay, we're gonna go 0, 10, 15. Oh, this is what I mean by sometimes these numbers, you need to drag them around a bit because they get a little bit touchy. Oh, sorry, I didn't see that one. So 0. Okay. 25. Now let's go 30. All right, so I've got those numbers there. Same thing, we're going to add that degrees Celsius because we are talking about air temperature. Just want to pause for a second because I remembered something. With the surface air temperature, there is another way you can do this. I will show you. I'm going to delete this and do it again so you can see. When you add the layer, you can actually just leave it the way that it is if you like, and then just drag it down the very bottom, and that way you can still see what the temperature is. If you want to change any of those colors, you just click on style options, and when it loads you'll be able to change those individual colors if you can't see what they are. Otherwise, you can also click on the map and then click through, and it will tell you what it is where you clicked it. But you can leave it at that if you would like to. That would be fine as well. And back to what I was saying. Alrighty. Now, if we just hit the back button, I'm going to put the sea surface temperature on top. So you use these 6 buttons to drag it. And this is looking a little messy. So we're going to click add, and we're going to add the country borders so that we can actually see a bit of shape in here. So this first one, world countries, we'll click add. It should automatically come up to styles, but if not, click on styles, style options, the pencil icon, remove the fill color, and then we're going to make a black outline and change it to thickness of 2 so we can clearly see it. All right, so there we can see, and hit done. There we can see some temperature situation. Okay, now we're going to change these as well. So you always want to have the countries on top so that we can see the border. Sea surface temperature, we'll leave that, and we'll leave that too. If you ever wanted to rename something, you just hit rename and you type in what it actually is. All right, so if we click here on the legend, and we can see temperatures and things like that. Now the surface air temperature will always be the one on land, and the sea surface temperature will always be the one in the ocean, we can see the average temperatures. All right, that is our physical, oh, sorry, actually, there will be one more thing we're going to add. Let's quickly add the equator just to make that a little bit more clear. Now to just add the equator line, and you will find that simply by adding equator. And I will do that anyway. Cool. Alrighty, so now we have got most of our physical features here that contribute to the hazard. Now let's actually add the cyclone. So this layer has a particular name. It is Cyclone Debbie. Oh, actually, sorry, I think it's Tropical Cyclone Debbie track map. Here it is. And if you add that, excellent. When you zoom in, you will be able to see the cyclone and notice how it actually started over that water that is above 26.5 degrees. Very interesting. Okay, so there is our cyclone there. Now we're going to add some exposure information. So first of all, let's see where people are located or how densely populated this area actually was. What we're going to do is we're going to click add, and we are going to search for SA1 population. SA1 means statistical area 1. It is just a way of breaking down different suburbs or cities. So the first one that comes up is population by age and sex in Queensland 2016. This hazard happened in 2017, so this could be a pretty good one to use. So we'll add that. And here are lots of areas. I may change my mind about how we do this, but it's okay. Alrighty, then we're going to click again on the styles field. Now this is what data actually shows. At the moment, it's just the statistical areas. But by clicking field, we are going to look for the total population. And it will give us these dots. Again, we want to show things a bit more clearly, so we are going to do counts and amounts, and that gives us a nice choropleth kind of map. Now again, I'm not a fan of the spectrum in these situations, so we are going to go style options, classify data, and we're going to do some research really quickly to look into what is considered high density, medium density, low density. I'm going to pause this while I do that research very quickly. So what I've done is I've gone to ChatGPT, told it the range, and it has helped me with the right prompts get this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to do 4, sorry, we have a map, 4 classes. Awesome. And to make this even clearer so people can understand, I like to characterize my data. This makes it easier for people who are not very sure of what the numbers mean. Awesome. All right, so then when we zoom in, we can see. Now we can always keep on moving our tropical cyclone up here. Now something else we can do, this is a little bit of a non-linear explanation. You can also change the transparency of your cyclone, whoops, so that you can actually see the population colors behind it a little bit better. And there we go, look at that, nice. Alrighty, so there we have got our population here. So I'm just going to call this population statistical area 1 population 2016. Okay, now we also want to put That's where the people are. Now we might want to add land use so that we can see what that land is actually being used for and what it actually crossed over. So if we go to search, we can type in Queensland land use. And this first one here is pretty good. All right, so once again, always putting our cyclone on top, and you can see when it wants to load. Sometimes it will play up and not really work that well. It's gonna hide a few layers. Where did our cyclone go? Sometimes things glitch a bit, so I'm not sure why that's not working. Why is it doing that? Alright, sometimes it's glitching, I'm not sure why it's doing that. I'm just going to test something out. Okay, there we go, I was going to go with that. So things glitch. It's not just you, it happens. Okay, so clicking on base map, again, we can see what kind of things this cyclone has crossed over. And we, oh sorry, clicking on a legend, and we can see it has crossed over. If we zoom in, some residential area, lots of grazing. All right, so we can see what's actually been exposed to that cyclone there. Okay, then we can also add health and medical facilities. Then what you can do again, oh hang on, let's turn this off so we can see a bit clearly. Oops. Let's turn this one off too. So clicking on here, going back to here, field, we can do it by, I think name might be it. No, that's not what I want. So it's just a little clicking through until you find what it is that you want. Oh, function. Or maybe it's feature type. Oh, I'll take this one, function. Okay, and then you can see the different dot colors show what is actually there. So we can see that there's an aged care facility, there's a public hospital, there's another aged care facility. If you want, you can change from color and choose a symbol. If you go through, there's lots of little symbols here that you could choose instead. So for an aged care facility, you could do something like that. It's a little bit pointless though when it's that small. Alrighty, there is that. Then I might want to add where schools are because I'm trying to show what is in the path and what kind of infrastructure may be damaged. Oops, sorry, education Queensland. Education facilities. Facilities. And again, we'll go, are we functional feature type? I don't really care about whether it's a technical school or whatever. What's feature type? Okay, no. You know what? That's fine. We can just do that. It just shows where schools are. Okay. I would make sure though that whatever colour you make education is different to your aged care facility, otherwise it gets a bit confusing. So I have not used, what's a colour I've not used? Orange. I'm going to make school orange dots. Awesome. Alrighty, so then we have got some facilities, and once again, just to tidy things up, we want to keep on changing these. Health facilities, education. Alright, let's, maybe the last thing we'll add, we could look at elevation so we can see where people are living in terms of how close they are to flooding. Okay, if we look up, this, oh, I can't add it. Right, let's go to Queensland. Okay, let's go with the flooding. If we do this one here, this will actually show where was flooded during Cyclone Debbie. Now, usually you would just show elevation and things like that, and then we can say that these people are at risk. I'm not going to look for that, so we're just going to do where actually did flood. So these areas have just come up in blue, did flood. Nice. So they're obviously living in, oh, it's only doing it for a little bit. That's okay. And again, this is particularly cool if you're putting it on top of, on top of this, because you can actually see what flooded. And you can actually see, look at this area here. Now, if you want to make this more clear, this is not, there should be another way to do this. Alright, if you do darken, then you can see where it's actually flooded over things that you wouldn't have seen before. Okay, cool. Alright, it's a bit messy, but when we zoom in, we've got things we can talk about. So the idea with this map is you don't look at it all in one go, but you can hide and show layers to be able to see, look at all these schools that were in flooded zones, for example. Very interesting. Wow, look at all this flooding. Alrighty, so there we have got a map with some data that you can now analyze to see how hazard information and also exposure helped influence the risk for North Queensland during Cyclone Debbie.